make sure that they're back in open session for eScribe. Thank you.
And the waiting of the 5 minutes had everything to do with whether or not the media could get themselves back into the room when we're not in a virtual setting. So I assume that it can be quicker if they're paying attention to their monitors, that they can just be on when we turn the switch on, and we're on now, right? We're broadcasting live. Right. So we will wait a couple of minutes to allow them to do that, and then we will get to the balance of the agenda. And I know Jason Farr is anxious to get this thing wrapped up. Moving everything right now. Okay, I'm going to deem that an appropriate amount of time. So on item 9.2, pending litigation and liabilities, can I have a motion to receive the report and have the report remain confidential? Moved by Clark, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Any comments? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, thank you. Or opposed? Or abstain? Well, if there's a conflict, but I'm just throwing out an option that someone may have declared a conflict that they could have. Geez, you're right on top of things as always. Thank you. Councillor Pauls, thumbs up. Now you need to be in open session in eScribe to be able to do the vote.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so just give us a thumbs up for now. Maybe you could get yourself into the public session. Councillor Johnson, not there. Councillor Whitehead, no, I don't even see a thumb. There's nothing. Okay. That's carried. Thank you. And on 3, Appendix A, to report Mohawk College University College Transit Pass Agreement Summer Semester. A motion to receive Appendix A of the report, and it remained confidential as well. Moved by Councillor Ferguson, seconded by Councillor Pauls. Comments or questions? If not, all in favor? Or opposed? Or whatever? Councillor Whitehead, are you in open session on eScribe? Okay. Should be able to vote. Councillor Johnson, thumbs up. He's thumbs up. Yep. Okay, thank you. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. For Hamilton Bike Share Program legal update, a motion to receive or approve the direction in closed session and maintain the report confidentially. Councillor Farr, moved by Councillor Farr, seconded by Councillor Johnson. In favor? Or opposed? Okay, where have I lost that? Okay, thank you. That's carried as well. Councillor Jackson, can I have a motion to, no, not yet. We still have the other matter to deal with. 54H, yeah, Mohawk College University College Transit Pass Agreement. May I have a motion, mover, or seconder for item 54H. Moved by Danko, seconded by Wilson. All in favor? Vote should be coming up shortly. And I'm going to assume that's carried, and it is. Councillor Jackson, can I have a motion to rise and report from the Committee of the Whole, please? Councillor Jackson.
Your Worship, you may. Moved by myself, seconded by Ward 5 Councillor Chad Collins, that the Committee of the Whole rise and report.
Thank you. All in favor electronically. And that's carried. And then we're at 7.1, notices of motion continued, which is a reconsideration of subsection A1, item 6.4 of the May 27th, 2020 Council minutes, respecting the interim continuation of the SOBI bike share program. We need a reconsideration motion on that. And I think Councillor Pauls and someone else that voted, Councillor Marula is moving it?
Yep.
The reconsideration? Okay, sorry. Councillor Marula, a motion to waive the rules for starters.
So moved, seconded
Thank you.
by Councillor Collins.
Okay, thank you very much. And
the motion?
yeah, just a second, we just got to waive the rules. And you vote on that, please. Councillor White, did you want to speak to waiving the rules?
Absolutely.
Okay, go for it.
Mr. Mayor, again, we have a problem with our system. Our system should allow me to put it into the queue when there's a motion on the table. So can I ask the clerk why I couldn't do that?
No, you can ask later. Right now, we're in the middle of a meeting. We'll sort it out later. This system, you know, it's an evolving thing, and we're all having challenges from time to time, including connectivity. So every time there's an issue, I don't want you to be raising it here. We'll sort it out. So
Mr.
carry
Mayor,
on. Do you have an issue with
I
waiving
will-
the rules?
No, I'm going to speak to it though. Is that
Well,
proper?
let's speak to waiving the rules. Yes. Why are you opposed or in favor of
I'm not
waiving the
opposed.
rules?
That's an assumption that I didn't put out there. No, I'm supporting it.
Okay.
But I thought I'd speak to it because I think it's important to understand and appreciate that the context in which we're have this motion before us has changed dramatically. In the context of salvaging the balance of this year in the context of Solby, and that is a result of the good work of yourself and Councillor Farr, where others were writing toxic articles. Thank you.
Okay, so on waiving the rules, all in favor, have we voted? Councillor, you need to vote. So in favor of waiving the rules, give us a thumbs up or either vote. Thank you. Then I'm going to turn to Councillor Marula. That was unanimous for that. Councillor Marula, your motion, please.
Thank you. No, I haven't heard the indicator that I'm on, but am I on?
You're on. You're on.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this motion really is brought to you by Councillor Farr. The Ward 2 people are lucky to have him as a representative. And in saying that, the subsection AI of item 6.4 of the May 27th and 28th, 2020 Council minutes respecting the interim continuation of the SOBI Bike Share Program, which was defeated by Council on May 27th and 28th, 2020. I like the fact we have to add both days, 2020, and reads as follows, be reconsidered. That if Uber does not agree to honor its contractual agreement with the city to operate the SOBI Bike Share Program until February 2021 without interruption of services and at no cost to the city, the council will approve single source procurement pursuant to the procurement policy number 11, non-competitive procurements for the interim operation of the SOBI Bike Share Program effective June 1st, 2020, and that the General Manager of Planning and Economic Development be authorized to enter into an execute an agreement and documents required to give effect thereto with Hamilton Bike Share Incorporated, each in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor. And now
Okay.
I have other items to read. That's basically it. But
Okay.
do you,
Is there an amendment to that? So I read
I
amendment.
think
What's the amendment?
No, so Mr. Mayor, right now we are just voting on the reconsideration only. Our
Oh,
initial
wow.
vote was to waive notice,
Right.
and
Okay.
this motion is
So-
just on the reconsideration. So any speakers, the speakers list is open if anybody is speaking just to the reconsideration of this motion.
Okay, so I'd like to just make a couple of comments. Firstly, as everyone knows, this program, SOBI program, was put into effect in 2000. Well, was approved in 2014, became active in 2015. And in doing so, we committed. We made a promise that, and staff committed to not having any impact on the municipal taxpayer. So we had a lively discussion, even though we had the commitment that it wouldn't cost the general levy anything. However, we went over and above that particular statement and literally confirmed without a shadow of a doubt it would never cost us anything. So fast forward to today when Uber, who really is responsible for everything that we're experiencing right now, and by the way, when they first came to town, I initiated the regulatory aspects of Uber and all rideshare programs, and I was heavily criticized by most of the same people that are now criticizing the fact that we're keeping our promise to not be impacted by financially by the SOBI program. So it really comes down to one thing. We have a history in the city. I think many cities have this history because of different councils of making a commitment to the public. And we said clearly, this is not going to cost you anything. That means something. The cynicism that exists is because we bait the residents and then we switch. And that, I think, has come to an end. It should come to an end because the cynicism at this point has never been as profound. So as we move forward, and now that we've kept our word and we've kept our promise, now we can move forward to ensure that we continually keep that promise. Now, if somebody wants to debate and bring forward another initiative down the road that they feel that it should be inclusive of our public transit system, go for it. Bring forward the motion. Let's have the debate. But until then, let's not pretend that we didn't make this commitment. We did, and it wasn't supposed to cost anything. As I did years ago, I brought forward an initiative for zero fare public transit in Hamilton. Took a beating in some circles, but I still believe in that principle, as I do with a number of principles that should impact the general levy that benefits the public. But let's keep our word in doing something or moving forward on any initiative. And that's what we're doing here today, is keeping our word. And that in itself will down the road mitigate the cynicism that we're experiencing in today's political climate. So I'm happy to be able to reconsider the fact that the interim measures, but we're not reconsidering the fact that we're keeping our word. And that's the key component here. The most salient component is that we actually have a council keeping its word. And I know that in some circles, they find that a little astonishing, but it's a reality. And if you look at me, if you look at my history when it comes to dealing with these types of scenarios, whether it's the Tiger Cats, who I'm a big fan of, or whether it's the Bulldogs, who I'm a big fan of, when I say zero means zero, it's zero. Not one penny should be impacting the general levy. I said that about the Tiger Cats, I said that about the Bulldogs, and now I said it about SOBI. So hence, at least I'm consistent and predictable, which sometimes can help in eliminating some of the chaos that we're experiencing today. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
In favor of reconsideration. So, Councillor Whitehead, to reconsider or not to reconsider?
I withdrew, Mr. Mayor. I
Oh,
thought.
did you? Okay. Well, apparently that system didn't work either. So we'll have to tune that up. Councillor Ferguson.
It's just a question for the clerk. Madam Clerk, I heard us vote on a motion to reconsider, and that carried. You're saying the motion before us now is the reconsideration motion.
No, we
Yet
voted on waiving the rules so that we can bring
Okay.
forward a reconsideration motion.
Just
We've
let me
done the
finish my
waiving of the
question.
rules.
Can I
Okay.
finish my
I
question?
just wanted to correct the process.
So Andrea, this waiving the rule or reconsideration 6.4 I awards the contract to SOBI Bikes. The way I read this, is that correct?
No, not yet.
Well, that's not what the council
So-
approved, the single source procurement.
Through the mayor, right now, we are reconsidering the motion that failed last week, and that was to do sole source to Hamilton bike share. I understand if this reconsideration passes, that Councillor Farr has amendments to the original motion that failed last week. So right now, you're only reconsidering what had failed last week.
So I
We're not
can't vote
making
to
any decision.
Okay, I can't vote to reconsider till I know what the next motion is going to say, particularly around with the funding source for the $400,000. And I can't see that on eScribe to come up next.
So you're
Is it
not going to see
available to
that on
see?
eScribe right now. All you're going to see on eScribe is the original motion that failed last week. The amendment must come forward to council for approval first.
Are we going to have a chance to see it?
So we're going to have Janet share her screen during that time when the amendment comes forward, so everybody will be able to see the changes that are being proposed by Councillor Farr.
Perfect,
It
thank
was
you.
also emailed out, but we will be sharing it on the screen
But it's
so that
the
the
one that was
public is aware
emailed
of
out
the
was missing a
changes.
big part in my view, and that's why
Okay,
I'm
well,
looking
we will be
forward to see
displaying it
what's
for
on the
everybody.
machine screensaver. Okay, thank you.
You're very
Okay.
welcome.
I see no further speakers, so on the reconsideration motion. Oh, no, Councillor Clark, go ahead. Thanks for the
So
wave.
I'm sorry about that.
No,
I'm
problem.
now a little bit more confused than I was when we started. So we're voting to reconsider, but we don't have the motion before us that will be replacing it. Is that correct?
Currently, right now, the motion before council is to reconsider the decision that failed last week. That is all.
But you can see the dilemma that should people not wish to, we don't know what's coming next. So we're just,
So the amendment that Councillor Farr is putting forward was emailed to all members of council.
okay,
It was emailed last night.
okay.
Janet Pilon had circulated it to everyone.
And you are going to put it on the screen once we have the reconsideration done. So reconsideration basically gets the previous motion on the table, back on the table, and then Councillor Farr is going to make some amendments that will put into effect the potential agreement with Hamilton Bike Share.
I understand all of that, but historically, when you're doing a reconsideration motion, if you're changing your decision, you have the other motion that's available, so we know exactly where we're going. So I don't have that. I'm looking for it right now by email. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I will pop that up as soon as. Okay. All right. We'll get it. We'll get it up on the screen forthwith. So
I'm going to
Councillor
send it out to all members of council again. I have it in front of me.
Ferguson. Yep, it's coming. If you want to unmute Councillor Ferguson, someone.
I absolutely agree with Councillor Clark. I don't want to reconsider this till I see exactly what's coming up. And what I saw that was emailed from Janet this morning was incomplete. I talked to Jason about that, and I want to know whether that changed in accordance with our conversation. So before we vote on this, can I go to my email and look what's going to be moved later?
Yep. Go find it on in your email, or Janet can resend it again so it's at the top of the list. Or you just.
But I'm curious to know whether
Andrea,
Jason amended it from what Janet put out early this morning.
So have a look in your email.
Okay.
Everybody have a look in your email. I just want to get everybody to read the motion that was sent out, and then Councillor Farr can tell us whether there's been any change since then. Coming, just a minute. Just give everybody some time to read. Hmm? Everybody
Okay.
have it?
Yeah.
Everybody have it?
So it hasn't changed yet. After I talked to Jason, it says a council direct that the $100,000 donation from the Patrick J. McNally Charitable Foundation, $20,000 from IVI, $5,000 unit, $5,000 Royal Canuck, $5,000 from Effort Trust and $5,000 from Roxborough Park. That totals about $200,000. I want to know where the other $200,000 is coming from before I'll agree to reconsider this. Now, there was an appendix attached to the May 31st letter from Sobe Bike, which very clearly laid out where the whole $400,000. Why isn't that incorporated into this motion?
Because the motion's not on the floor yet. Councillor
Well,
Farr.
because the
Hang on,
motion is,
hang on.
the motion doesn't show it.
Councillor Farr.
Yeah. No, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So it is there in Roman numeral 2, but not referenced
not.
as
No, it's
the.
not.
So let's hold on a second. So we're saying confirmation that the donations reference at the bottom of that paragraph, Roman numeral 2, subject to confirmation that the donations referenced in the HBSI communication to council dated May 31st, 2020, which is on our council agenda. And Ferg, I'm sorry if you missed it, but I sent you an email saying check out today's item 4.4A, which is exactly that. I didn't send you that line by line a presentation from HBSI, but I referenced where it is on today's agenda.
Okay, but what it says.
If I can
in a
just
co-
remind council that this motion is not on the floor right now. Sorry, this amendment is not
So-
on the floor right now.
Okay,
Until we
but
put a
Andrea, how can we
until we
vote
pass-
on the
Okay,
reconsideration until I know this?
Let
Councillor,
Andrea finish
everybody
first.
received this email last night to review prior to the meeting. That's all I can tell you.
You sent it to us last night. Doesn't mean we got it.
Yeah, fair enough.
We didn't receive it until last night.
No,
Okay, so can I just ask Jason a question on part 2? It references the letter of May 31st. Why doesn't it say $400,000 at no cost to the taxpayers? Very clear. That's what the
Through
appendix
you.
says.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to amend that piece, or if the clerks want to include the entire communication from HBSI in the motion. So what you're looking at is essentially, Councillor Ferguson, 4 lines that are part of Roman numeral 2 in this amendment. And the lines, yes, that's the box there. You got it. And it's on today's agenda, 4.4. Anyway, one says 65K, I believe, or somewhere in that neighborhood from crowdfunding that HBSI was successful in gaining. The other HBSI line says 100K in donations and pledges, other donations and pledges. Then you'll see another line that they referenced that I worked on everyone's behalf. That's the 100K from the Patrick J. McNally Charitable Foundation. And then there's a 4th line that it talks about revenues and operational. Okay, so
Okay.
your 400.
Okay,
Hang on,
why-
can we just stop for a minute? So we're actually ahead of ourselves. So I
We
got
are.
points of order here coming from all sides of the clerk's domain here, saying we're offside on this at this point. So there's a reconsideration motion on the table. If you want to hold off on reconsidering until you're satisfied that all of the details on an amendment that's coming forward is satisfied, then you're going to have to do that independently of this process right here. You just want to keep at it. Lloyd, I mean, you're just going to go back at the same thing all over again. Go ahead. Yeah, well.
You've got me turned off.
Me too. Of course I have. Because I was talking.
My only issue is once you reconsider and that gets approved, it's fair game to go any direction. That's why I want to be very clear. There's going to be no impact to the taxpayers in this new resolution, and it's going to be funded in accordance with this. But I can't say that because you turned my microphone off.
So I think you're getting assurances from Jay that that's where this is going, and that was sent to you in a previous email, and the construct was there. Is it in front of you right at this second? No.
No, I have the email in front of me, but it's incomplete. It doesn't show the amount of money.
Once we do the reconsideration, then you can make those amendments to show all of that in the amended motion that's going to come forward.
Okay, but then You know, we've already reconsidered. It was a 7-7 or 8-8
So-
vote last time.
So you don't
And
trust the notion that this is going
I
to be
don't,
a
I don't
zero?
know. I don't know. I
Jay's
just wish
telling you.
the motion was clear that was sent out to us. And I repeatedly asked you, and listen, I'm so thrilled that Jason's been able to pull this off. I just wish you could have made it clear before you asked us to reconsider in the email, and
Okay.
it's not.
All
It's
right.
short 200 grand.
But it won't be once we're done with the amendments. So let's get to the reconsideration motion so that we can get to that point and you can be satisfied and put all the amendments in place to assure that it's not going to be any cost to the taxpayers, and all the money that is available to operate this thing is going to be inherent in the motion that Councillor Farr is going to bring forward. Can we go there? Okay.
Yeah.
On reconsideration then, all in favor of reconsidering it, and this needs a 2/3 majority to reconsider. Henry, not there, correct. Okay, reconsideration is approved 15. That's definitely a 2/3 majority. Councillor Farr, or is it Councillor Marula? Councillor Marula, you're doing the amendment, right, officially?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. So read out your amendment.
I have it.
Wait. What? No. Okay,
Sorry?
yeah, you need to read the original motion and then add the amendment to it.
Okay, the original motion, which I did read already. Did I not?
You did.
Yes, it's
so
in section.
add
You're
the
looking at
amendment
section
amount.
3 of the email.
So it's section 3 of the email where it reads that subsection of item 6.4 of the May 27th, 2020 council meeting, respecting the interim continuation of the SOBI bike share program, which was defeated by council on May 27th and 28th, and reads as follows: be reconsidered. That if Uber does not agree to honor its contractual agreement with the city to operate the SOBI bike share program until February of 2021 without interruption of services and at no cost to the city, that council approve the single source procurement pursuant to procurement policy 11, non-competitive procurements for the interim operation of the SOBI bike share program effective June 1st, 2020, and that the general manager of planning and economic development be authorized to negotiate, enter into, and execute an agreement and any documents required to give effect thereto with Hamilton Bike Share Incorporated, each in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor. And so then the original motion to be considered to be amended is A, that if Uber does not agree to honor its contractual agreement with the city to operate the SOBI bike share program until February 2021 without interruption of services and at no cost to the city. And that 2, the council approve the single source procurement pursuant to procurement policy 11, non-competitive procurements for the interim operation of the SOBI bike share program effective June 1st, 2020, and that the general manager of planning and economic development department be authorized to negotiate and enter into and execute an agreement and auxiliary documents required to give effect thereto with Hamilton Bike Share Incorporated, each in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor. And then we're moving on to 5, I believe, which is that if Uber does not agree to honor its contractual agreement with the city to operate the SOBI bike share program until February 2021 without interruption of services and at no cost to the city, that council approve a single source procurement pursuant to the procurement policy 11, non-competitive procurements, to immediately retain HBSI to operate the City of Hamilton's bike share program through February of 2021. That the general manager of planning and economic development department be authorized to negotiate, enter into, and execute on behalf of the city all necessary agreements and terms, conditions, and documents required to give effect thereto, each in a form satisfactory to the city solicitor and subject to confirmation of the donations referenced in the HBSI communication to council dated May 31st, 2020, that HBSI be entitled to all program revenues, including sponsorship and advertising, and the council direct that $100,000 donation from a Patrick J. McNally Charitable Foundation, $20,000 from IBI Group, $5,000 from Liuna High Rise Group, $5,000 from Royal Connaught Phase 3, $5,000 from Effort Trust, $5,000 from Roxborough Park Developments, $5,000 from Urban Solutions to the City of Hamilton to be used to support the continued operations of Hamilton Bike Share program. And I believe that is it. And if I can just re-emphasize that we would not be here today if it were not for Councillor Farr, and I really truly need to applaud his efforts. When we kept our word that this wouldn't cost the general levy anything last week, Councillor Farr, he rolled up his sleeves, got to work, and got the ball rolling, which is going to keep SOBI rolling. So I really appreciate his efforts and that of all of council to land where we have today without costing the taxpayers a cent. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Farr.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think Terry and I win the prize for pestering the clerks the most on the tech stuff today, but that microphone, I'm trying to request to speak and it's not working. Anyway, my Nevin Grant, God rest his soul, died about 2 weeks ago, and he was one of the great program directors in radio ever and the nicest man anyone would ever meet. And he used to always say in broadcasting, never tell the listener you're having technical issues because they don't hear it, they don't understand it, and you're just wasting time. So I've just wasted 40 seconds explaining that nobody really cares. What I will say is thank you to Councillor Marula and Councillor Collins for moving this. I really do appreciate it. I hope Councillor Ferguson caught the last parts, the Roman numeral I, Roman numeral double I, triple I, and 4, because those are the keys. Those are the amendments. That's what Councillor Marula is speaking to. I had a pleasure and a challenge over the last 4 or 5 days seeking out support during a nationwide pandemic. And of course, like everyone else, especially those who really count on SOBI bikes on a daily basis, the thousands and thousands in Hamilton, very grateful for our city builders stepping up, and especially once again in Ward 2, but across the city and for decades, the Patrick J. McNally Charitable Foundation. And there's a lot of great efforts from those users as well that totals around 65K in crowdfunding. And Frugal Fergie, that's Money in the Bank, a crowdfunding campaign. The motion in Roman numeral 2 says we will confirm the other 100K. It's using the right legal language to say go away staff, the appropriate staff, and talk to Hamilton Bike Share Incorporated and do this deal properly. That's something, obviously, there are conversations that they've been very helpful in sharing over the last couple of days and dealing with that other issue related to this, the one that got us in this mess in the first place. I've also really appreciated talking to some of my colleagues, not all. I know we're all working in a different world right now, and I try not to call and bother in cases like this, but I've had a few good conversations. Esther, since Wednesday's vote, Councillor Pauls has gone out of her way, I think even to this day, trying to understand those audited statements that we receive with Public Works every year and has for the last 5 years with Social Bicycles, with SOBI, understanding and appreciating her background in business and wanting to know exactly what's happening with the revenue aspects of the game of bike sharing. And you, Mr. Mayor, we were obviously tackling this, getting this thing back on track with, I believe, the same amount of energy, especially over the weekend and on different tracks. And I will admit right now, I may have gotten short with you a couple of times. And maybe I think it's safe to say, but I'll let you admit it, that you were short with me. But in the end, I think we're in a very, very important place, and with a motion that I think covers all of those eventualities, particularly the one that is the most prevalent, no cost to the taxpayers. It was a narrow victory, an 8-8 tie, but that was what I heard. That was all I heard in that defeat a week ago that inspired me to get moving on this. And then, if that's the case, let's fix this and at no cost to the taxpayers. That's what's before us. I can tell you, I've spoken to finally Hamilton Bike Share Incorporated, Chelsea Cox on a number of many occasions over the last 5-6 years, but over the last 5 or 6 days. And trust me, folks, there is nobody more capable in an interim period, and even in a year-over-year period, but in this interim period referenced in this motion, to get these bikes back on the road and manage them in an outstanding way than Hamilton Bike Share Incorporated. And you can see from the fundraising they've done, from the community activation, from the 300 bikes in the foyer and the front part of City Hall, they mean business. They're very good at the business of bike sharing. So thank you to everybody affiliated to assisting them, and thank you to them, and thank you to all of you. And I'm sorry if I went over a few minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead, or no, sorry, Councillor Partridge, and then Councillor Whitehead, then Councillor Clark, and Ferguson and Jackson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, I too want to thank Chelsea from her due diligence in bringing this forward, and certainly the McNally Foundation and Councillor Farr. I mean, you know, yet again, you are next to myself, one of the hardest working councillors on our council, and your ward too is very, they should be very grateful to have you. Just a couple of things. I am going to support this because, you know, I've supported the bike share right from day one. Two things. First of all, what Councillor Marula read off is not what was emailed by our city clerk. I have it right in front of me. The email, I just opened it up that she just sent. What Councillor Marula read off is very different than what's in front of us. So I just want to make note of that. Because, you know, when the clerk gets a little short because, well, they sent it to us last night, I understand that.
Brenda
But, you know,
Johnson.
but we don't have it in front of us. And what I have in front of me now that you just sent is very different.
Has joined the meeting.
Nowhere on this, you know, when I look at item 4 under section 5, all the figures there add up to 150,000. And so, you know, we have been talking about the 400,000, and you know, I want to support this, and I will support it. But I heard no cost to the taxpayers. It's not just costing the taxpayers on the levy that I'm concerned about, but it's costing from our reserves, which comes from the taxpayers, comes from the levy, maybe in previous years, but it's all been contributed. So, you know, where is the wording within this motion? Somebody please point out to me that speaks to that $400,000.
Jay, do you want to try that?
Or Madam
Roman-
Clerk, or Madam Clerk. I mean, it should be in this motion.
Madam Clerk, let's start with you.
So the email I sent out was the last one that we've received. I understand that it's additional donors have come forward since, and that's what Councillor Marula and Councillor Farr have added to that. So right on your screen right now, Janet is sharing what Councillor Marula just read out. That is what's before you right now.
So my question was, can someone point out where the $400,000 is?
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead, Councillor Farr.
Yeah, Councillor Partridge, Roman numeral 2, the last line in bold, subject to confirmation of donations referenced in the HBSI communication to council dated May 31st, 2020. That's on today's agenda, and maybe the clerks can pop that up and even cut and paste it and put it right under Roman numeral 2, because I get the question. It's Councillor Clark, Councillor Ferguson, and now yourself. If we could show that item 4.4 A, I think it is, on today's agenda, which is the HBSI communication that's being referenced here in the motion, that shows you your 400K. It's actually, and yeah, if you could pop it up. It included now the additions as well. So there's monies that we've received since. And while she's calling that up, if I can, Councillor Partridge, I sent this at 2:00 yesterday afternoon, the updated motion. You did get a draft of one on Sunday night as well, colleagues.
Yeah.
But this was, the amended one was 2:00. My fault, because Janet was waiting for me to give the okay to put it on the agenda, and I didn't look at my emails. I thought once I sent it at 2, it's going on the agenda. I didn't look at the agenda till about 9:00 last night. So that's why it's my fault you didn't get it till 10:00 last night. That what's before us on the screen, the motion that Councilor
you.
Marula read. So this right here, no,
It's not it.
The bottom
it's the
line.
other one. There you go, right there. So you'll all recall. So this is what we're going to confirm, Councillor Partridge. We money in the bank, Patrick J. McNally, add 45K to that first line, 100K, as we're approving here today from our community partners like IBI, like Sergio Mencia, like Repper Trust, Spalachi Group, and those guys. 60K, the HBSA fundraising campaign, staff will go confirm that GoFundMe raised $60,000. That's what Roman numeral II is saying, go confirm. And that shouldn't be too hard to do. The third line, 100K, confirmed funders and sponsors, partnering businesses and anonymous donors. We will go and confirm that with HBSI, and that's included as well under Roman numeral 2. And then the 140 is with their 5 years of experience in operating Sobe in the city. They've accumulated 140 as a line item for user fee revenues that include the October 2020 payment for the Everyone Rides Initiative equity passes funded by their Ontario Trillium Foundation Grow Grant, which I believe was somewhere in the neighborhood of 700K. So that's money that they have that they can spend if the bikes get back on the road, and Everyone Rides, you know all about that. So that's what Roman numeral I, the final bold line there, is referencing, that we go confirm those 4 lines.
Thank you.
And they add up to 400.
Councillor
Thank,
Partridge.
thank you.
Yes, so thank you, Councillor Farr. And I, I believe that's what Councillor Ferguson was asking for
Yes, he
as
was.
well.
Yes.
So I'm happy to move that amendment, if you would second it yourself, to get that right in the motion.
Sure.
So it is right there. And folks, that's all we were asking for. And, I realize that this came together very quickly, and I'm so grateful for that and for the work that has been done to ensure that this happens. So I certainly don't want it to come across that some on council are not grateful. We are very grateful. But as Councillor Ferguson said, we've got to dot our I's and cross our T's and make sure that this information is included. So I'll move that amendment, seconded by Councillor Farr. And I thank you so very much for this and for everyone involved in pulling this together.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead.
Some choose to vote a destructive, senseless act fueled by spiteful politics, and then some choose to do the work. So there's the talkers and the doers. Well, we know who the doers are, Councillor Farr, Mr. Mayor, and all those involved, because this really isn't about whether the program was a good program or bad program. We all know that it was an enhancement, and it's a good program, and I'm sure many communities want it. In fact, I'm sure we tried. Hopefully, at some point, we'll see it expand. But currently, there's thousands and thousands of residents that do not have access to Sobe. Period. To suggest that this program is a need after all these years, 550 communities without it, as opposed to want, is a bit naive. This is a want, not a need. Having said that, that's why I felt it was a good place for this community. That's why I thought our job is to provide the infrastructure, like the Keddy lane, bike lane or the trail this morning. That's our job. Providing the opportunity for the business community to come in and fill the gaps is another part of our job. A lot of the councillors around this table took a very strong position that this is the private sector's responsibility, and we're going to push it out to the private sector. It wasn't saying no to a ride share, let's be clear. In fact, I moved a motion to go out to full procurement, have a competitive bid. So the real issue and question was what was going to happen for this year, because we already committed to go through the procurement for the following years. The question is, where will the money come from? Well, you know what? I'm really proud of the position that many councillors took at around that table, because what did it do? It provoked work. And we know who the workers are. They went out and secured the dollars without one tax dollar and the program continuing. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that the objective we should achieve? Is there something wrong with the councillors that said no to using taxpayers' money when now we got a program that's going to be going forward without taxpayers' money? Did we not succeed? Of course we did. I want to thank all those involved. I certainly support the interim solution, and I certainly support a long-term solution with electric bikes and scooters to, just to add to the flavor and the taste and the choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
Thank you. Can I ask, I'm not sure who exactly was responsible for the GoFundMe page, but they raised a little over $60,000, at least at the last glance that I saw. Does Councillor Farr or anybody know who exactly was the ones that were responsible for doing that work?
Yeah, that was the Hamilton Bike Share Inc. Did a phenomenal job. Same as who we're looking for to operate on the interim.
A phenomenal job is correct, Councillor. They did an excellent job. Even my family donated to the cause. We're very pleased to see the community step up in the manner they did. If I'm not mistaken, though, in the last discussions, it was talked about, although it wasn't pinned down, that the community was going to step up with donations and support. So they clearly have put their money where their mouth is, and I'm very pleased to see that. I'm very pleased to see the change in terms of how we're moving forward on the file, and I'm hoping that it has a long life ahead of it. Thank you, Councillor, for your efforts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I too, congratulations, Jason. It's a great job. You pulled this out of the ashes, and it looks like it's going to move forward. Just a couple questions to you, though. One is, you seemed very reluctant until Councillor Partridge moved the motion that the $200,000 coming from the Hamilton Bike Share fundraising campaign, which is the GoFundMe, and the $140,000 for the user fees. I think you kept saying we want to go off and confirm that. Is that at risk?
No, I just thought through you, Mr. Mayor, that yourself, it would be prudent to put it in the motion to show that we're doing our due diligence, checks and balances, that it's not just a correspondence from some very reputable and good people at Hamilton Bike Share Incorporated. We're not just going to take them at their word. That's what the wording was meant to achieve from my fiscally prudent friends around this virtual horseshoe. That's all that was. I tried to explain that to you on the phone this morning, but you were busy taking a tour of your art center. So I apologize for not being more clear as to why.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Okay, so I can multitask while I'm taking a tour. But you never made it clear in here that where the other $200,000 was coming from, other than reference the letter. So I'm glad Councillor Partridge is taking that matrix and moving it right in. And it would be nice if it said somewhere here that, because my concern when you kept saying we have to confirm it, when we adjourn this meeting, the news media tomorrow will say Sobe Bikes is back in business. And then we find out you can't confirm it, and we're back into another big dramatic situation. So I need you to just, you've done it, confirm for me that 200 grand from Hamilton Bike Share, both user fees and the GoFundMe section, is there for sure. And so it'd be nice to include in item 6 that all this at no cost to the taxpayers. So that's abundantly clear. Would you be prepared to make a friendly amendment to put that in there?
So Councillor Marula had to move it because I voted in favor first through. And I should just, as I have this opportunity, I've just heard from Graham McNally from the McNally Charitable Foundation, Patrick J. That GoFundMe is now just shy of 70K, so we should be adding 10,000 there. And on Councillor Judy Partridge's line items, I'm suddenly feeling like Ed McMahon on Labor Day weekend back in the 70s here. On Council Partridge's line items, we instead of 100K Patrick J. McNally, we should put $145,000, 100 Patrick J. and 45 from community partners. Roll the tote, Jerry.
So
I thought,
the
I thought you were going to
question
start
was,
singing "Hey Jude."
will you take a friendly amendment to say at no cost to the taxpayers?
All the
Yes or no?
Will.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he will.
I'm sure he will.
Councillor Ferguson, that's an amendment. Friendly. Add it in. Are we good? Okay. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. After we got the official correspondence 48 hours ago from Hamilton Bike Share Inc., in the last 24 hours, I put thoughts to paper. In the modern world, I tap my keyboard to construct an email, and I'm simply going to read it for the public record. Dear Executive Director Chelsea Cox and Hamilton Bike Share Inc. Chair Janet McLeod, I have read your correspondence twice and the accompanying motion from Council colleagues Sam Marula and Chad Collins. Wow, this is terrific news. Pending the outcome of Council's deliberations today, right in the midst of it, Mr. Mayor, that we are, and although the sting of Uber's breach is still fresh, I will be supportive of your desire, Hamilton Bike Share Inc., to resume operations, which is what you did so capably from 2014 to 2019. Plus, Mr. Mayor, wherever possible, I much prefer supporting local entities and businesses, which you are. And your funding package is perfect in my humble opinion. Therefore, Mr. Mayor, I will be supporting the motion, the amended motion below, with a massive thank you to Councillor Farr specifically, and Mr. McNally, and Hamilton Bike Share Inc., and all your other financial donors and supporters. Lastly, Mr. Mayor, if anyone has not read the public correspondence from ED Chelsea Cox of Hamilton Bike Share, the last 3 paragraphs of her correspondence speaks volumes to the integrity and credibility of Hamilton Bike Share Inc. and their respectfulness of city policies that they bring to the table. I was very impressed by that. And finally, Mr. Mayor, it's never been lost on me or my office, their Everyone Rides Initiative program that ensures those in financial hardship can ride a bicycle too if desired. Fabulous community program. Thank you. 150% support of the amended motion before us. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Nat.
Thank you. Through the mayor, I just want to start off by saying congratulations to everybody who worked hard to raise the funds. Council Farr, you've been rolling up your sleeves on SOBI since the beginning. That's why you're the first person I turned to second the motion. And yeah, neighbor in the chamber for a reason on this motion. And the fact that even last week you're ready to find some external funds from private funders to bring to the table isn't lost on me. And I want to thank everybody in the community who has dug deep into their own pockets to fund from the community a solution that enables that enables Bike Share, Hamilton Bike Share Inc. to put forward their consideration for us as a council today that we're all deliberating now. I also want to thank everybody who emailed me at the Ward 3 office, all of the folks who are offering donations of up to $5,000, those who are offering donations up to $1,000, those of you who are saying, I've got $25 this week that I could put towards this. And my staff redirected everybody to the Hamilton Bike Share Inc.'s GoFundMe page and put them directly in contact with Hamilton Bike Share because for us, we thought that was the course of action to take, which is this is the organization that's capable of operating SOBI. So let's ensure that those relationships land with the operator so that it can be sustained. And so the narrative that I want to challenge right now that is being really carefully orchestrated and put out for public consumption, quite unfortunately, is to suggest that there's doers and non-doers around this council table. I think it's highly disrespectful of the work that every council office here, every ward office here does on a day-to-day basis. I think it's highly disrespectful. I think it's highly unfortunate that some of our colleagues continue down this path of creating this division around our council table. And quite frankly, I'm sick, literally, and tired of it. And I'm really hoping that it will stop very soon. That aside, I want to say thank you primarily to everybody who's pulled out the money to make sure Sobeys operating. From a policy perspective, and I'd be happy to talk about this in the form of a future motion, in the form of the future that we're all going to be walking down together in terms of what is the role of public funding. When it comes to bike share programs, we are clear for those of us who are doing the work of researching and looking at how to make bike share programs successful, that any city where a bike share program has succeeded, it has been with municipal annual funding. It has then seen a return in revenue generation of up to $600,000 a year to $900,000 a year. And we don't need to look too far down the road. If you look at Bixby in Montreal, it shows shining examples of what's possible in terms of revenue generation for a municipality, as well as ensuring that there is a multimodal transportation network established and growing to meet the public need, and also landing real climate positive targets in their municipality. That's municipal leadership, and I think we're on the way, right? I also want the rest of my colleagues to hear we're on the way. I'm not trying to be at this table to disparage anybody else around the table. I'm here to do some work, just like everybody else. I run on some values, and I am going to spend the next few years that we have on this term together to land as many wins as possible, because our city deserves every single one of them. Our residents deserve every single one of the initiatives that this council can support, that ensures equity, that ensures real climate leadership. We deserve that as individuals, and our future children and future generations deserve that as Hamiltonians. And so I really want to implore to my council colleagues that we just stop with the nonsense, please, of this narrative that's being orchestrated around the table and the division that's being created here. It is not serving anybody, and most importantly, not serving the people who we've been elected to serve. So again, thank you. Thank you to everybody who's pulled deep. Thank you to everybody who's advocated. Thank you to the hundreds of residents who have emailed. Thank you to all of Ward 3 residents who've been fighting for Sobe from the get-go and have also come through today in terms of those donations. And yes, the GoFundMe campaign continues to climb, and it's at 69,000, going up today as we've been deliberating on this issue. Thank you to the mayor's office. Thank you to all of the council colleagues who voted last week that were ready to support with a stopgap funding solution. And thank you to all the councillors who will be supporting the motion today to ensure that SOBI, number one, keeps the bikes rolling, number two, at a time during a health pandemic when it has been by health officials and medical health officers around the world that this is the safest mode of transportation that residents can rely on to get around, to carry out their errands, to physically distance, and most importantly, contribute in a positive way to our health and vitality as people and as a planet. So looking forward to supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and certainly to all the previous speakers. So a lot's been said. I'm going to try and keep it short. But first and foremost, I did support this at the last meeting. And I know it was through area rating funding from the three good ward councillors in the city of Hamilton. Sure, there was no reason for me to support it because I don't benefit from it, but we all do benefit from it. I look at it that if we're supporting it and encouraging it, we will see more users and we can see expansions. I'm thrilled with the GO station going at Centennial and hoping that I will have expansion into Ward 10 in the very near future. So I'm pleased that this has come about. I too want to, well, first I want to say, because I was thinking about it in bed last night, you know, there's a saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Jay, that one's for you. Okay, you've done a tremendous job, and I'm really glad that you saved this. Certainly through the Patrick McNally Foundation and Chelsea at Hamilton Bike Share Incorporated. What can we say? I think the citizens of Hamilton, all of the citizens, and especially the users of the SOBI bikes, should be absolutely thrilled today and should be making a toast to, especially to Jay tonight and all the people who've put money into this. I will certainly support this. I hope that we can write this all around and that it'll be a positive jewel of opportunity and service that will go forward for a long time in the city of Hamilton. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's really hard to follow on the heels of those last two previous speakers, Councillor Pearson and Councillor Nan. Thank you very much. I just wanted to echo similar comments, starting with the residents of Hamilton who came forward and donated to the crowd funding initiative, many of whom could have used that money somewhere else, particularly when they don't have a job. And I would also give thanks to the McNally Foundation. Absolutely, a long tradition of builders, of city builders, specialized in road engineering and tunneling, and they built our Jolly Cut. I don't know if many of our citizens realize that. They built the 403 going up the escarpment from the lower to the upper city, kind of symbolic that they would unite those two areas. And of course, recently, a few years ago, donating 27 acres of a family estate to the Bruce Trail, believing in public goods that offer a return that is hard to measure. And of course, the outdoor ice loop in Waterdown, the funding contribution to the greenhouse in Ward 3 in Gage Park, the list goes on and on and on. And carrying on the tradition of his grandfather, of course, is Graham, who just 1 ounce of parochialism is a proud Ward 1 resident. And he walks the talk, and just really proud to be his neighbor. So thank you to my council colleagues, of course. Thank you to Councillor Nan and Councillor Farr for putting this forward and sticking with it, and of course for Councillor Farr for all his work in the mayor's office. I know Jay did read something from the McNally letter early on in the day, and I do think it bears repeating, because in celebrating their goodness, we're also celebrating their wisdom as builders, and they see importance in what they do. And if we see the importance in what they do in other areas, we must certainly heed their counsel in this one. Again, I repeat, our study of successful bike share programs across Canada and around the world clearly demonstrate that they demand a true partnership between local government, business, members, and the community in order to succeed and be sustainable. So we have that opportunity. We'll have that discussion and engagement in future. I look forward to it. I look forward to working collaboratively to make this city the best that it can be, because it is worth our best efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pauls.
Thank you. And of course, I'm going to vote yes. But the reason I voted no last week, I wanted to make clear, is that I didn't feel like I had enough information. I didn't have enough information how much money was coming in, what was going out. I worked for the Royal Bank, and clearly we always had to balance at the end of the day withdrawals and deposits. And I didn't have information. Even though I wanted to vote yes, I wanted to vote for the 3 councillors that put the area rating. That was I really did. I thought, of course I'm going to do it. But then I thought, none of the figures matched. But to say all this, I want to say that when one door closes, another one door opens even bigger. Right after that vote, the next day, I called the mayor on Saturday, and I was really upset because I just wanted to know more information. And I remember the mayor saying, can we wait one more week? And if we had waited one more week, we would have had more information. And that's what I needed. But the best thing of this that happened was I was able to talk to, the mayor told me to call Peter. I called Peter Kapolovich, and his passion about the Zobi bike was so evident. We got talking and we figured that this program should work well. And we agreed that it should be expanded. We agreed it should be on the mountain. Matter of fact, I met with Concession Street at a Zoom meeting, and they're all excited in donating too and expanded. I asked them, why didn't it work in 2014 or 2016? And he gave me the reasons why, because it was only few bikes. We need an expansion. So in saying all this, I want to tell my colleagues that I vote, sometimes I need to know information, and sometimes I might need more time to figure it out. And it was 17 hours, almost 16 and a half hour. So for me to vote no, uh, I just didn't have the information. So I want the public to know that. But I want the public also to know that all the councillors that voted no, they had their reasons as well. And I'm so proud of every council, and I love to work together with all of you. And I think what Narinder Nand said, it's true. We have to work together for the betterment of our city. So in that, I want to say thank you for the opportunity for speaking, and thank you, Mayor, for suggesting I get to know Peter even better now. And it was such a great, I think we talked for about an hour. I even called Keenan and told him about some of the ideas. And so it was a good call. So thank you. And thank you, Jason, for calling me on Saturday. And we had a long talk about it. And I want to thank you for all you did today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have no further speakers. So the first item was an amendment to add the portion of the letter that confirmed the amount of money into the motion. That was moved by Partridge and seconded by Farr. Can we move on that amendment, please, to include that as part of the motion? All in favor or opposed on the amendment? Councillor Whitehead, you're good? Thumbs up. Thank you. Councillor Johnson, you have to verbally say yea or nay. I think you're on the phone. She voted? Okay. Anyone else missing? No. Carried unanimously. Thank you. And then we're going to turn to the main motion, moved by Marie, seconded by Councillor Collins as amended. All in favor? Or opposed? Councillor Whitehead in favor? Thumbs up. Thank you. Everyone else has voted. Councillor Ferguson, you're voting or you wanted to speak? Councillor Ferguson. It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Ferguson, what?
To our now this is carried. I'd like to go back to our city solicitor. The headlines tomorrow are going to be that Sobe Bikes is back. How long will it take before we get this up and running? Did I hear weeks from our lawyer before they can get these contracts executed, or can we go tomorrow?
No, it's going to take some time. Michael? Or Jason?
That's right. I think it is going to take through the chair, I think it is going to take a little time. We're actively drafting up a contract for HBSI as we speak. We'll move it ahead. It's obviously a priority for us. So optimistically next week.
So next week, the bikes could be back up and running then?
Well, that's more an operational issue. So I'll defer to the PET guys, but we hope to have the contractual bid in place by next week.
Thank you. Jason?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, that's certainly what we'll aim for. We've got a bit of work to do now on the agreements and some other aspects of the direction that council has given today. So we will do that as quickly as we possibly can, but we will certainly aim to, we know how important the bikes are to have up and running, so we'll aim to have something by mid to late next week would be our goal, if not sooner, if possible.
Thank you.
Okay, great work, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to be 100% clear, right now the bikes are locked out, not functional or operational until such time as the agreement is done, and that's the middle to the late next week.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's what we will shoot for. Yes, the bikes continue to be locked up because as of right now, Uber is the operator and they have ceased operations. So until we can get the new agreement and the transfer done, which will take a little bit of time.
Great, thank you. All right, thank you all very much. We're going to go to the bylaws at this point, and I'm going to turn to Councillor Jackson for a motion on the bills, please. Councillor Jackson.
Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Ward 5 Councillor Chad Collins again, that all the bylaws that we have in front of us be approved and affixed with your seal and the city clerk, Andrea Hollins, and be accepted accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very, very thoroughly done. All in favor of the bylaws indicate, and then anyone need to vote that hasn't? Councillor Nan Marula? Okay. Everybody's voted. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's carried. And a motion to adjourn, moved by Nan, seconded by Tico. All in favor? Carried. Show of hands. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Brenda Johnson.